Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Virtual Cantina. It's great to see you all, and we have a very special guest tonight. We're going to first say hello to John Notman. John, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks, Frank. I know we've got a very exciting evening lined up, and I can't wait to meet our very special guest and have everybody get to know Mark a little bit better.
It is so great to welcome to Virtual Cantina Mark von Ohlen, who is the brand licensing manager for Ruby's, the long-standing costuming company that's done Star Wars for years. And of course, we know him affectionately as MVO from the last few celebrations. Mark von Ohlen. Mark, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This is it's really fun to be back, and to talk about everything that's happening with Star Wars. It's a really exciting time.
Oh, before we get too far, how have you been? How through COVID? Obviously, it's been crazy. Is you healthy? Are you doing well? How have you been? Because we haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. I think probably before May the 4th, 2020, before Siege of Mandalore is how I look at the before and after of life at this point, right? But honestly, I've been very lucky. I've done really well. I was on furlough for a while, so as you guys know, no longer atop. Star Wars Authentics has fully gone away. And I know a lot of people may jump in with this question. I have no idea who the next licensee will be. A lot of questions are out there, and I do not know, nor would it be my place to tell you if I did, but I literally do not know. But I found a new job at Ruby's, the costume company, started there in January, and have been working on this top secret project for a while now, De Nuevo Novo, which we're going to talk about later, which I'm very happy to share with you guys. So I've been one of the very, very, very lucky ones. I know it's been like a tough year and a half, 2 years for people. Like many, I lost my job and then bounced back and found something that I loved, which was among one of the better results, considering everything that's been going on. But you guys have all been doing okay?
Doing well.
Great.
We've had a lot of great events. This group that you're talking to, we've done Spencer and John and Jeff, who's just stepped away. And everyone in this group, we've been doing so many wonderful activities through COVID, and especially in those first few months of the first year, just really getting together Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and we can't be together in person, but this group has been just a wonderful escape in camaraderie and getting ready for the next celebration. So it's been great.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see you all in real life too. This is fantastic. The boxes, I love it. I'm so ready to actually go to the bar in Anaheim and just have a drink and stand there and talk about who we want to get an autograph from or whoever. Like that's my goal.
That's gonna be
So a little background for everybody if you don't or have met Mark before. MVO, he's definitely our MVP. Great friend of everybody that's linked with Star Wars Autograph News, Star Wars Celebration. I first met Mark in 2017 in Chicago Celebration. Mark was just so helpful, particularly when he was based and managing Autograph Hall, photo ops, etc. He did a fantastic job. And I want to share a quick picture. And this is what Mark is like. No matter how busy he is, no matter what's going on, he'll always stop and have a chat with everybody and get to know them a little bit better. And this is a quick picture of Mark and I in an Autograph Hall, actually, if you can see that, in Chicago. And Mark was so busy that morning, but he was really gracious enough just to stop and have a quick chat and have a quick selfie with me. So yeah, Mark's a great guy, and leading up to Celebration, he really helped us and everybody that's associated with Celebration, with planning and understanding what was going on and how to book things and when to book things and what to watch out for, and don't be too late in doing something. And so Mark was just an absolute mine of information for that particular event. And I'm glad for you to get to know him a little bit better and what's happening now in his life. So please welcome Mark. Ask whatever questions you'd like about Mark and his current role and his love of Star Wars and his life with Star Wars. I'm sure it's very rich, and we're going to have a great evening.
Thank you for that awesome intro. And by the way, we look amazing in that selfie. That is profile picture worthy. I had such a nice time in 2019 doing little things like that, stopping and talking to people very quickly and getting a quick picture with other people in the fandom, because that's who it's for. We're booking the actors and trying to make it a great experience, not just for Disney so they have a good marketing event, but that the people who are coming really get their money's worth and they have a once in a lifetime experience. I still talk about the people I met, and I was like booking them. I have my names on the contract that were like paid them to be there, and I'm still like, I got a picture in the back with so and so, because I'm still a fan as much as I am like the person who is working with the talent agents to get them there.
One question, actually, one question I want to ask about that to start off, Mark, before Frank gets in, is being a fan. How much of that contributed to who you chose to be in the autograph hall at a celebration?
Actually, a very small sliver, because you really have to look at what the larger fandom is interested in, more so than what me particular, and I will say my tastes are always like slightly off. Like I am a huge proponent of animation, and if I could book an entire convention of all Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, and just them, I would do it. That is not for everyone, and in fact, most people want the main leads from the movies and the people you've never seen before. So we took a lot of feedback from the people who were like emailing in to @StarWarsAuthentics email, and we had a couple polls that we ran. I know we sent you guys a poll, and we're asking who you wanted to have, and then we also coordinated with Disney on who were their priorities. Like, what do we have to promote as a brand? What content stream is going to be important, and then we also broke it up by demographic. Like we knew we needed something for the older fans, for fans from each part of the saga, and then also for kids, which is why for the kids we had a lot of Resistance people. I think we booked 6 people from Resistance. So we did all of those slices, and then if I was telling you, if I were booking a show, it would be the Clone Wars team over and over again. And that's no knock on like the really high level expensive people. I know everyone wants to meet like Billy D. Williams, who's amazing. I'm just such an animation geek. If I legitimately could book a convention, it would be all that.
So we want to hear from everybody. So if you have a question for Mark, what you can do is type your question in the chat. Spencer's going to be checking that throughout our time with Mark, and so just type that, and that's how we'll get your questions in, because we definitely want to, hear from everyone, right? So I have so many questions about Rubies and what you're doing now, but it sounds like we're on a roll with Celebration, so let's keep with it. So
yeah, keep going.
It's hard because you and I, and we've talked so many times, we've known each other for a long time. What was it like? What was your responsibility? What was your role with Tops and when was your first celebration? And what was your day-to-day like as within your responsibilities in that role?
Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, my first celebration wasn't until 2015 as a licensee. It was my first year with Tops, and we had like a 10 by 10 booth where we were just one of the many, many, many licensees attending to sort of hawk our wares. So I had just joined the team in November of 2014. So I was like less than 6 months on the job, and I was actually put in charge of like making that activation happen. And it was very basic, but we did have a couple of really fun things. We brought in Randy Martinez, and oh my God, I'm blanking on the other artist who was there with us. We had 2 people signing autographs on the illustrated set, which was very cool. And then we also had like an exclusive card set that we sold at the show. So very executional, very like promotion oriented, but small scale. I had been to other Star Wars events prior. Like I'm actually wearing my Star Wars Weekends t-shirt. I don't know if you can see it from here with the letters, but I am a huge fan of Star Wars Weekends. My husband and I had been to that numerous times down in Orlando, and that's where I first met Ray Park. It's where I met Vanessa Marshall, who I love. Those are always really fun, and I wish they would bring those back. I know with Galaxy's Edge, it's all about immersive and like not breaking story. I got to tell you, there's nothing like Star Wars Weekends. Seeing James Arnold Taylor do that like one-man show that mixes in his like voiceover work that he does with like medicine commercials and then like ties it into Obi-Wan, like that stuff is great. Like I don't need to be in I don't need to have the full immersive experience. Like I actually like the behind the scenes kind of feel of those types of things. But like I was saying, 15 was my first one. 17, I was just sort of initially running the booth, our little store. because I wasn't running Star Wars Authentics yet. So as the brand manager on Star Wars, I was just kind of there. And then I ended up being a talent wrangler. And then by 2019, I planned the whole thing with booking the talent and everything. I'm sure that's where everyone really wants to spend time. So do you want me to like take a breath and then take you through that process for that? Or do you have specific questions you want me to hit?
Yeah, if you could just kind of incorporate, and because 2019 was such a, just we loved, I haven't talked to anyone who didn't just absolutely love Chicago. But if you can add in kind of how 2017 influenced what you did in Chicago, even though you had a different role in Orlando, how that influenced what you did in Chicago, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, because so from 17 to 19, it's still the same company, right? So Topps ran 2017, and while I was the brand manager on the card side, I wasn't involved in the celebration planning perspective. I was just vetting with our licensing side, who actually usually signs our autographed card deals, like the private signings, who I thought would be interesting guests and what would be willing to pay rate-wise, and then what card products we would roll them into. And so we landed some really great people, like Riz Ahmed made his debut there, Felicity Jones was there, we got Sarah Michelle Gellar, and that was really like one of mine where I was like, what can we do to get Sarah Michelle? Because she also never does live appearances. And they're like, well, she's more Buffy. And I was like, I know she's more Buffy, but she's literally never, like, she's done one convention. Let's get it and bring in Freddie. People really want Freddie. There were things like that where I helped on like the ideation of who the guest list should be, but not the execution of the show. So then flash forward to a few months after the show was actually when I took over Authentics as my day-to-day job. So I went from being brand manager cards. The guy who ran licensing actually left the company, and it created this need where it was like, well, who's going to run all of Authentics? Because we have a photo business that no one was really paying attention to. We had this convention that had a lot of feedback, is the best way to say that, right? There are a lot of notes coming out of 2017 as to what could be improved upon. But then we also had new signing deals and streams of content like we couldn't have planned for. No one would have thought in the 80s and 90s that we would have this many movies, this many TV shows, and this many products that would be coming. So it started to feel like a full-time job. So I took on Authentics, and first order of business was, let's get some photos going. Let's get some autographs up on the website, figure out private signings, coordinate them on the trading card side. And then about a year out was like, okay, what do we need to do for Celebration 19? Once we had the date landed, about a year to plan, who do we want and what was the feedback from the fans last time? And that's when we started doing our due diligence on gathering the content. So should I use that as a stopping point? What was your number one complaint from 17 that we needed to fix for 19? So top 10, I mean, even, right? Like start the list.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
No, it's true. It was a lot. I know the list because I read it over and over again. I read every customer complaint from 17 going into 19. It was wait time, oversold tickets. And we also did an examination as to like what had gotten us there, right? Like there were panels that ran late. And then hours that we booked for talent that weren't long enough to fulfill autograph quantities sold. So like literally oversold, right? And the need to run autographs like photo ops was the first thing I identified as the big win. The guys from Epic, who I still talk about to this day, Adrian from Epic, like truly saved the day. If you can run autographs the way you run photo ops, your convention is completely different because you get a time ticket as to when you show up and you wait for a half an hour maybe, or a little longer if they're slow, or you sit around all day. Those are the two choices. You sit around all day and wait in the line, or you get a window. And we were able to give them a window just like we did on photo ops. And once that clicked into place, we knew we could build the whole show around that and create buckets of like, okay, I've got Tia Sircar here for 6 hours. And we know when she's photo opping, we know when she's autographing, we can tell you, and then you can build your schedule around that. And you can meet her, and you can also meet 7 other people. Because last time around, you met one person, and that was the big difference year over year.
Well, what I'd like to say is that one of the questions we got during our live, question answer about prepping for Celebration was for 2019. What's Epic going to be like? Because people who are not familiar with Epic were obviously nervous and concerned about after what happened in 17. And the one thing I said to them was like, Epic's a very known property that they do wonderful things at other cons that I was not worried about it whatsoever, and that they shouldn't be worried about that. It was the best thing that you guys could have done. and 2019 was absolutely fantastic. So kudos to you and the team for that one.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, I do want to send a lot of that credit to Epic. They know how to run a show, and I've said this to every talent agent I've ever met. If you can go to a convention where the photo ops are the autographs are done like photo op style, it's the best experience you can have, because you don't want to wait around for 2 or 3 hours or not knowing how long it's going to be in one line all day to potentially meet one person. It really ruins your entire experience. I actually just went to a show, a horror convention down in Cherry Hill called Monster Mania. Had a great time, fantastic show. Photo op with Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich. I'm a big Scream fan. It was awesome. And that was it. I didn't get into their autograph line because it literally wrapped around the building. We brought like a full-size movie poster and the Blu-ray. Like, this is literally my favorite movie, right? I was going to get in that line, but I've also been to enough conventions where it's the only thing you could do that day if you did that. And I was like, we have to meet people from Friday the 13th. Instead, we met 7 or 8 other lower tier actors who, by the way, were delightful. And we spent 10 minutes at their table and talked to them. I like that experience. But if I had a time ticket, I would have spent the $300 or whatever it was to just go wait in line for half an hour to meet Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich if we were able to do that. So hopefully they keep that in 2022. I feel like that was the game changer year over year from 17 to 19.
I was curious. This is my 10th year with Star Wars Autograph News, and I do between 15 and 20 shows. I had never seen an autograph hall run that way. And it just made sense. It was like, why haven't we done this?
Yeah.
Was it something that was simple enough for Epic to put into place, or just kind of apply what they did with photos, or was there some reworking, retooling that they had to do to make it work for autographs?
I mean, it's always a ton of work. That's the thing that people don't realize, that's never fully automated. But it is less work day of and during the show, and it also maximizes the number of tickets you can sell, and creates the best fan experience and allows them to then buy more tickets. But it was work, and it was something new that they were basically building, but it also in some ways was copy paste, right? Because like once we booked someone, and who did we have? I used Tia Circle for Taylor Gray. We know we're going to have him for 2 days. We only need him 4 or 5 hours. We have to book his photo, his autographs, and his private signing. And private can kind of go wherever, but you're still splitting the aisles. If you remember, the big aisles had one person all day, like a Hayden Christensen or an Ian McDermott. But the other aisles that were smaller, people were in the morning or in the afternoon for autographing, and then photo ops always run really fast. But once we were able to figure out like the estimated demand and the tickets we were going to sell, and using the same sort of computer program. I'm sorry, my cats are just like rummaging everywhere over there. I'm in the room, so of course they're here.
So
yeah, exactly. So they need lots of attention. That was, in some ways, you could just replicate that same model, and it worked. And also they ran the website that collected all the money for the tickets. So when you went on the website and bought autograph or photo op, it took you to the Epic website. So I always joke, it was like if people didn't know who Star Wars Authentics was, like Epic ran Celebration for all intents and purposes, and rightfully should get that brand recognition for it, because it was the best thing we could have done was that decision.
For when you're talking in the autograph specific groups, you're dealing with people that do this often and go to a lot of shows. The Celebration group, a lot of the people here are just going to Celebration. Mm-hmm. And they might not be as accustomed to being in lines in the autograph process. And we always remind them you're paying for an autograph, it's not a meet and greet. Yeah. How much time is built in, or was built in, obviously, because you just said you had to maximize sales and give us the best opportunity. So how much time is kind of allotted? I would imagine you have to allot time for interaction. Is that what kind of considerations go into that?
It actually varied quite a bit by person and by price and fame level, right? So, and we tried to build in a bit of a buffer too, and it came down to negotiated hours and how many tickets we needed to sell to deal with minimum guarantees. So there was a lot of art and science colliding. But in general, for an autograph where it's not a meet and greet, and I'm so glad you said that, because it's not a meet and greet. It is an autograph and keep moving, sir. 30 seconds is ideal. for planning purposes in terms of tickets to be able to sell the most tickets available so that everyone who bought a ticket to Celebration and travels all the way to Anaheim, especially if you're coming from around the world, gets a chance of buying a ticket for someone really big like a Hayden Christensen. For other people, we left in a bit more time knowing that there wasn't going to be the same quantity of demand. But like 30 seconds to 60 seconds is the range we would use in terms of like being able to set sellout caps. And on the older talent that we know take longer to sign or had smaller hours to begin with, we also went to maybe 90 seconds or so, or just lowered the cap and built in more rest time. And you can imagine those are more of like the original trilogy actors and anyone else who might be moving like a little bit slower. Like those, we made those decisions sort of case by case. But like, honestly, I would say if I were fresh coming in new, the perfect thing would be 30 seconds for an autograph, and photo ops move even faster. The Epic guys will tell you, like, they've got crazy run throughs. But the thing now is like a lot of people really want some kind of custom photo and they're holding a prop and hold this banner and let me jump on your back. Donald Faison got that a lot with like, let's do the picture from Scrubs.
I
And
was
that was,
actually
Eagle!
behind the guy there. I was actually behind the guy for that one. Yep.
there were
I was
quite a
online for
number.
that. I saw that, and the guy came right afterwards and said, "No more Eagles." Yeah.
No more
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah, it was a lot. Also, you could see it on his face. He had done a few of them and was like, okay, this is a lot. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing where it's like also, I think in the new rules too with COVID, like, are we going to touch people? You know, like what are those? Like all of the new rules of engagement have been sort of like reestablished, and it really varies person by person. I would like to not ask a stranger to pick me up. Like, I think that's just like so forward. And I would like a stranger not to like try to pick me up. So that's the kind of thing where I think we can actually, I think you need those rules almost written out, please. Like, we're not going to be doing special poses. Like, I remember with Hayden Christensen, we had a whole group with lightsabers and they wanted him to hold the lightsaber and then hold it a certain way. And like the clock is ticking because we have hundreds of people who want to meet him and get their photo.
Awesome. Now, John, I want to get to you because I know you have lots of questions for Mark, but there is one I just have to piggyback on something, Mark, you mentioned. We see a lot of times when autograph prices are announced, we see comments like, oh, the signer is being greedy. They set their price up. They decided how much their autograph is going to be. And just a little while ago, you mentioned a little bit about guarantees and kind of a little bit about how that works. And obviously, you're not going to go into details about contracts and that, but I think it would be helpful that people kind of know what goes into an autograph price at Celebration.
Oh, for sure. I would say largely the price of the autograph comes down to what the talent wants it to be, plus the cut that goes into the people participating. So if you go to a Rhode Island Comic-Con or a Chiller or any other small scale event that is owned by those people, even probably like anything from Reed Pop, they're collecting money from the gate. And they're collecting money from other things that make the convention work. But the talent sets the price for the autograph and they take like a small percentage. With us, we didn't get a piece of the gate. We are getting a slightly larger slice of the total ticket price. So if someone is usually, you might have noticed this, $25 at a random show somewhere else in the country, but then they came to Celebration and it was 30, that extra bump in there is to cover the costs associated with Topps and Epic outfitting that entire hall with the technology we need, running the website, setting up the stanchions. You pay for everything, by the way. Like, I paid for duct tape. You have no idea the expense list of like what we brought for Celebration and what the labor sets up for you, because you have to pay for all that stuff, right? We need drapes, we need curtains, we need those stanchions, we need the tape that goes everywhere, banners, printing of the photos, all that kind of stuff. So there's the autograph prices. Largely in the pie of the cost is what the talent makes. And then there's another slice on top of it that goes to whoever would be booking them. So if that case was like Topps or Epic, to cover their costs and make some profit there. That's really where it goes. And normally like a show owner would take a cut, but Disney did not take a cut of that. So it's not like there was royalty on that part of it. So in some ways, like, it could have been more expensive. You can imagine if the show owner was taking a slice of that as well. That is the, but they were getting the gate. So Disney gets paid based on the tickets that are sold to the show, not the autographing or anything sold on the floor, that kind of thing. So that's really the pie chart, how it breaks out there.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
John,
I will say the one thing that people were saying is that the cheaper people that gap went from, like, if you were normally 25, you were 40, but if you're normally 100, you were 140. As a percentage, it looked bigger on the cheaper people. And I think that was a lot of what people saw their sticker shock to be.
Well, we always say on the Star Wars Autograph News podcast, when I started collecting autographs, the base price for an autograph was $20.
Yep.
And that was
Same.
anybody, under Peter and Jeremy, it was 20. By the time we got to 2019 for Chicago, even outside the celebration, 40 was the new 20.
Yep. We use that exact phrasing. I think I even said that in an interview. I was like, 40 is the new 20. A combination of expenses related to putting on shows, and the fact that the market too has gotten so flooded with the $20 autographs that there are a lot of people who protect their pricing by making sure it's not available for $10 or $20 anymore. It might have been back in the day. So it's definitely 40 is the new 20. It could be on a t-shirt. I actually think you guys should like do something like that, the history of autographing. And I think it tilted right around 2016, 2017. That feels like around like the real tipping point. Once New York Comic-Con started selling out day of, which I think that goes back to like 2013, 14, because before that, no one cared. I got free tickets back in like 2012. But there was a moment in geek culture that it tipped and pricing went with it.
Wow.
That's a great insight, Mark.
So John has some questions. And then anybody else, if you have questions for Mark, like you said, put them in the chat, and Spencer will keep an eye on that, and we'll get everybody's questions in. So John, go ahead.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, that's a great insight, Mark. One other thing about pricing real quick. I know that Frank, Spencer, and I, and a few others, leading up to Celebration, will always say, look, whatever you feel comfortable in paying, do that. Don't overstretch yourself. If there's an autograph that's too expensive, don't get it. Only get something that's meaningful to you and in your price range. That's the last thing we'd want people to do is overstretch themselves unnecessarily. So,
yeah.
But what I think would be interesting to hear from you, Mark, is, we're lucky. We get to buy the tickets, roll up, meet the talent, get our favorite thing autographed, right? And say hi to them. But what I really, and I think a lot of people might be interested to hear from your perspective, what in terms of booking the talent and arranging all that, all the logistics behind the scenes that people like us don't ever see or aren't aware of, what are kind of some of the challenges and what are the real kind of high points in working, to bring people to Celebration, and maybe some favorite memories of yours in arranging for people to meet us?
Oh, yeah. Look, I could do a whole podcast just on this topic because there's a lot of streams to unpack there. I would say let's start with the good stuff, right? The nice thing about the Star Wars, both the fandom and like the real fandom, not the angry Twitter fandom, the real fandom, and like that small slice that's just always screaming. That's every fandom, by the way. I'm in several fandoms. They're all like that. It's a sliver and they're loud. The real fandom is super nice. The actors are also super nice. This is shocking, right? Because you have very famous people in billion-dollar movies who could, for any reason, just be unreasonable, and you'd have to roll with it. They are not. They're all really reasonable people with real people like us in these little boxes who represent them as talent agents or appearance managers. And I was fortunate enough to get to know many of them over the course of my years doing this, whether it was like a one-off talent agent who had one dude who came to a show, or someone like a UTA who we booked like 12 people from, or someone like Zach McGinnis, who I think I brought his whole army to Celebration in 2019. So very lucky to meet all of them, and they're all in the grand scheme of things easy to work with. If you hit the price point and you can coordinate the days, and as long as they're not filming something, a lot of the Star Wars fandom knows the benefit of conventions. Our big hurdle going into the next piece is that if you are newer to the Star Wars fandom, like when maybe you're in a new movie and you haven't done the circuit for a while, you don't know the benefit. And there's been this stigma for a long time that the convention circuit is where you go once your media career is over. Like, you used to be famous, so now you do Comic-Cons. That has also changed in the last 10 years, right? I would say around 2012. And I got to say, The Walking Dead, I think, has a lot to do with this. I think when TV started getting really great again, there was this weird bump in like the 2010s where like, we keep hearing golden age of TV. We're in like highest quantity of content right now. This isn't a golden age. This is a quantity age, and there's a lot of great stuff. But like, there are some great shows that really broke from pop culture, sci-fi genre into mainstream. And actually, I think The Walking Dead had a lot to do with that. But the actors associated with these projects, the Marvel movies for the past 10 years, they've seen the benefit of live appearances and autograph signings, and they don't devalue themselves. If anything, they make themselves more accessible to fans, which that also goes to the social media piece too. Everyone thinks you're a TV star, they can just talk to you. So that has all shifted at the same time. So getting some of those newer actors from Star Wars to realize that conventions are a good thing took a minute. But then once they get there, they're like, oh, this is great. So no one came out of that being like, I'm not doing that again. There are a few people who are like, I'd prefer to do a private signing in the future now that I've done my public. But for the most part, everyone's like, can I come back? That was a lot of fun. You get to see other people from other parts of the fandom. I remember Christopher Sean was working the room. He met every person who was there the entire 2 days he was there. Like, he was the best. And that's what I think a lot of that mingling was with the stars. So I particularly remember that. And then other people hadn't seen each other. Ahmed Best and Hugh Quarshie ran into each other and hadn't seen each other in forever. And they gave each other a hug and they're talking. And I realized that I was standing there and like watching way too long. I was like, I need to go over and say hello and then very quickly move away, because I was watching their whole interaction for like a good 30 seconds. But like a lot of those reunions were happening in the green room in 2019. So I remember them vividly. And at one point too, there was a whole Clone Wars table and Dave Filoni walked in and sat with them and they were all chatting. And it was Ashley and Kat and James and Matt. I brought that whole crew. Matthew Wood was there too. And they were all just sitting there like, sort of high school breakouts, right? Who was at what table? The Clone Wars table was happening. I'm just standing there. I was like, oh, someone snap a photo without them looking. Like, it was great. So that I love. The biggest challenge though is always getting people to understand the benefit of doing something like this. And sometimes it's not even money. Like, these people have plenty of money. It's not the money. It's like, is this worth my time, and will it be beneficial for my career and beneficial to meet the fans? And I think a lot of them, after having done it, all come out the other side going, this was great. I know Ahmed Best had the best time when he walked onto that stage and there were people crying in the audience. He came out of there, he was like, wow, that was great. So that type of experience, I think, is what really sells it. Like, if I could put together a clip show of him and then Bobby Moynihan running circles around like the Star Wars live stage, that's the kind of thing that will get people to say yes to go into the show, more so than the check, I think.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. That's a great insight. And actually, that was one thing I was going to bring up as my next comment, I guess. One of my personal favorite memories and a tangible moment for me was to see how happy Ahmed Best was.
Yeah.
Everybody was greeting him. Everybody was just so delighted to see him. He clearly was having a great time.
Oh, yeah.
So
and I could tell you behind the scenes, we basically sold out of his tickets and then got permission to add more, which is why he wasn't technically sold out. But he had huge demand. And then we put his autographs up on the Star Wars site, Star Wars Thanks site. It went really well. He was, it was a homecoming for sure.
Right. So yeah, I can remember that moment, and I think I'll never forget. Seeing him in person and seeing how happy he was. So. In relation to Ahmed Best and maybe some other talent, I mean, what is the typical feedback that you'll get, from talent that attend? Are they usually on a big high and I really enjoyed it? I mean, can you tell a little bit about that? How the talent, kind of react to appearing at these type of.
Yeah, I would say. It's not at all surprising once you see it happen, right? So Ahmed Best getting his giant reception on the stage, he was elated and left on a big high. And then you realize that so did the person who had a small table, who's a voice actor in a small part of the series and is not as well known, also met 100 people. And then we had them sign a ton of trading cards, and everyone who's there loves them, right? Like, it's the kind of thing where it's not transactional at Celebration. I was explaining this to one of my other friends who's a talent agent. I was like, one of the reasons we actually put in more buffer time on the autograph line, going back to what you were saying earlier about timing, was that we know, especially on these like weird low tier characters, there's like a crazy army of people who love these like psychotic background aliens and like have an affinity for them and want to tell you their personal story. I will never forget, 2017 was a hot mess, but Dennis Lawson was there, and there were grown men in their 50s at his table in tears meeting Dennis Lawson. And I was like, he's not in the movie that much. I think he has 10 minutes of screen time, but he is a super important part of the fandom, and he's never done a show. And like, these men have been dying to meet him for so long, and he had no idea what that emotional reaction was going to be like. Whereas someone like Tim Rose, who was done, not his first rodeo, right? He knows that's coming, and he's excited to be there. And he's waiting. He's like, who am I meeting today? Because people love Akbar, and he's got his little sign that says it's a trap. Like, that's the reason to go. And like, yes, he also got a nice check. Everyone got paid well, but there's nothing like the high of meeting the fans and hearing that they love your character. Dennis said that. Tim said that. You know, even the people who are getting paid really, really, really well to be there, I'm telling you, it's not the money. It's the meeting people like this, especially when they're coming with one photo and they want it personalized. Like, that's not going on eBay. When it says to Mark, it is devalued, and that's most of my collection, and I'm sure it's most of yours as well. Like, it's for me, it's not for the eBay.
Right. I want to just kind of take what John's question and say, did you get any specific feedback about, like you're saying, there's nothing like meeting the fans. Now, it's someone like Tim who does shows every other weekend.
Mhm.
Was there any specific feedback about Celebration itself as compared to other conventions? Because everyone there is there for one reason. Do you get any kind of sense of how they feel that, you know, that Celebration is very different than other show? It's a show, but it's a very different show.
Oh yeah, they all say how special it is. I mean, they mention it, every single actor who's done it, especially more than once, or has been to other conventions to compare against, they'll tell you that the Star Wars fandom, like the real fandom again, that shows up and meets these guys, are loving is like the right word, but it's not quite that. It is just so appreciative, and they're there with sometimes multiple items, but again, it's never flipping, right? It's like, I have a Funko, and I've got the poster, and I got the big poster that I know you're a part of, and I've got this weird book that you have a page in, like the visual dictionary. I can't tell you how many people were signing their pages in the visual dictionary. I was like, that's quite a collection to go after. But like, that's again something you're not going to flip, and they'll tell them like a personal story about why that character mattered to them. So that comparison, that doesn't happen, I think, at like small scale shows, or if it does, I'm not hearing about it. They say Celebration is special, and I think also because Disney does a very good job planning conventions, right? Like, those panels are powerful. They have a clip package, and you're already in tears before they announce whatever they're announcing. So they know how to pull you in with the emotions, and then they bring up the actors, and everyone claps, and everyone cries, and then everyone goes back to the green room and has a soda, and then they go back to signing. And it's just this like emotional feedback loop, and it's a great thing to be a part of. I think if you just do it for the dopamine rush, like I'm telling you, like there are people who, when I was initially planning what would have been Celebration 2020, there were people in LA who were like, I don't need a hotel, I'll drive over for the day, I'll do a couple hours, we'll get a little table, I'll sign a few things, and I'll leave, and I'll hang out in the green room with the other people who I know I'm going to see, because it's like old school, it's old home week, right? And we had a few people in that bucket that we were talking to about that very thing. Like, we're going to need you for 4 hours, come on by. And they're like, sounds great, where's my car? Like, I'll get an Uber. Like, it's very, very that.
That is awesome. I have to ask, only because you just mentioned panels, and we're all about Celebration here. One of the only things about Chicago that was kind of like, wow, that didn't quite live up, was the Phantom Menace panel. And it was, what do you have any idea of what happened with that?
I actually have no idea. So
Okay.
I should go on the record and say that I had nothing to do with the creation of the panels. And I heard they were all terrific, but I did hear something about how that one didn't land. And it's weird because Ahmed Best was there, and Ray Park was there, and Ian McDermott was there. There were we actually intentionally, because of the 20th, went out of our way to book episode 1 people. We really did, and it actually took us moving mountains to get Ahmed Best, and I'm so glad we did it. And you know, Ray Park is going to be there without a problem, so is Ian McDermott, but we really wanted to make sure we had like a good showing for F1. And I don't know, maybe it was because that panel was the Monday. I think it was the last panel of like the whole week, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. The only panel that I had an actual sort of creative input in, and it was sort of accidental, I had booked the entirety of the Rebels cast. So I wanted Freddie, and I wanted Sarah, but she didn't want to come back, and that's fine. But I wanted Freddie. I love Taylor. We knew we were going to have him. And again, for the kids and the fact that Rebels was going off the air, and Vanessa lived local or something, she was easy to get there, and I wanted her back. And then Tia fell into place, and before you knew it, we had like almost all of the Rebels. And so in tandem, I'm building my guest list off of like the Disney priorities, and I know what panels they're looking to fill. And then all of a sudden, we have like almost the whole Rebels cast, including Jason Isaacs. That's what the other thing was. Like that fell into place randomly. Like some things just landed. And so I was emailing with Disney PR, and I was like, we have a bucket of Rebels. And they created that Rebels Remembered panel because I had booked those people. But outside of that, everything else was pre-planned. And I think they had something big planned for the episode 1/20th, but I don't know what specifically, like, I don't remember rewatching that one, come to think of it. I know I watched every panel, and that's the one I don't even remember, strangely enough.
Well, everything after the 40th anniversary panel in Orlando kind of failed in comparison, no matter what you did anyway. So, but it was still, you know, yeah, I don't know what could have. I guess it was mostly because there was a lot of everybody was out on the autograph floor, so you knew who was going to be there. They were looking for that surprise factor, like the 40th anniversary of A New Hope
Right.
had.
You know what happens. People set up expectations that aren't real. It's the WandaVision effect, as I've started calling it. Like everyone really thought Natalie Portman was going to pop out, and that was not going to happen. Now, interestingly, that she is Thor, or will be Thor very soon. You could imagine her going to a convention now because Chris Hemsworth does conventions. So if Chris Evans and Tom Hiddleston and Tom Holland and all those boys are doing it, and a few of the women too. I believe that Elizabeth Olsen has done it. I will say it is a harder ask for women to go to these conventions, for all the reasons you would think. Aside from the fact that they need hair and makeup, and more prep time and all that, there is the misogyny factor that they deal with in the fandom, as well as like the creepiness factor. And I'm just going to throw that out there. So if you want more women to come to these events, the space has to be safer. It's that simple. And so I'm not saying that's why Natalie didn't go, but that you can imagine there are women who are not going to these events for that reason. And I don't know how we fix that. That's a very macro issue. And it's not something we in this little Zoom screen are going to fix.
Spencer, how are we going? Do we have any questions in the chat for Mark?
Yeah, we actually had one. So was there anybody in your time of booking for Celebration that you were really putting like the full court press on that just did not come to pass?
Oh yeah, I mean, that happened my entire life at Topps. You can look at the checklists on our autograph products starting in 2015 and see a couple of gaping holes in the leads for the new trilogy and the other movies, and they are just holdouts for whatever reason. And in the case of private signings, maybe it's money, but also maybe you just don't want to sign autographs, because I know a lot of people don't want to sign autographs. But you can look at our checklists and see the missing people, and every single one of them, if they had their name on the poster, we were chasing aggressively. And you know, not to name people specifically, but like there were negotiations that went on for years that never landed. And I can tell you from Force Awakens 2015 into Rise of Skywalker 2019, what is that? Like talking to the same agent over and over again, trying to land a private signing deal, never mind getting that person to show up in public somewhere. But like, those things don't always happen. Maybe they're just not into it. And it's true for other parts of the saga as well. There are some obviously missing Clone Wars voice actors who don't want to sign autographs for whatever reason, and you know that's fine for them. I'm certainly not about to show up at your door or try to intercept you in public. And I would also say, like, things like that deter people. Like, don't do that if you see them somewhere. You know, they're like, a lot of people really got into acting to be actors and create art, not necessarily to become famous, and certainly not to become an action figure or commodity. I think that's cool. I would love to be an action figure, and I'd love to sign autographs for money. I also think at some point in your career, though, you may get into that path when you really want to do like prestige films. And so maybe it's just not your gig, and I can fully respect that.
I got a question mark from one of our members.
Who's this from?
I can't see the name. So anyway, the question is, what is one of your favorite personal memories from your time at Celebration? And I assume that's working there.
Oh yeah. So 17 again was a hot mess, but I didn't know that on day 0, the day before planning, right? And that's when I met Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is my all-time favorite. Like, I'm a Buffy fanatic. That show is everything to me. And I got this fantastic photo with her, Freddie Prinze Jr., and my husband Jason. And then Jason ended up becoming her wrangler. So I was getting the minute by minute on what was happening. So, and Freddie was right next to her because Freddie was keeping an eye on Sarah the whole time. So I was joking that Freddie was Jason's wrangler. So we had a wonderful time, though, the 4 of us, despite all the other surrounding chaos. They're just delightful people, and very good parents, and just like nice people, which is what you want to hear more than anything else. And I remember first being starstruck and taking my photo and feeling like, oh my God, I'm at Buffy. As not that you should call her Buffy, but like that show defined my high school experience. And it's my all-time favorite property, along with Masters of the Universe. You can see that figures in the back, and Star Wars. That's my big 3. So that was huge for me. And then throughout the course of the weekend, just getting to know her as like a normal person, which is always more interesting. It's the Ashley Eckstein effect. Like, once people meet Ashley, they're immediately like, oh my God, it's Ahsoka, I love her so much. And then by the time the show is over, it's like, oh, I feel like that's a new friend of mine. Like, it was the same thing. So by the way, I can't say enough good things about Ashley Eckstein. I've met her a dozen times, and that's always a favorite memory. I couldn't even pick one. But like, I do try to do my annual photo with her. We would always run into each other at Comic-Con, San Diego, Celebration, and she's just terrific. And I probably have that same exact thing to say about like James Earl Taylor and like every other person who goes to the shows. But Sarah was a special moment. It'll probably never happen again either. I don't know if she'll ever do a public again.
I was just talking to an agent this weekend that said she's never done a show, she never will. I said, well, she did do Celebration, but that's it.
She did do one.
Does not do shows.
Yeah, it's not her thing, and I understand it. It's exhausting, first of all, the standing there and the being on for that many hours, because if you come up to that table and you spent that money, you have to have a good experience. And if that person's grumpy that day or not feeling well or whatever, like, you may have a minute when you're off, but it ruins that entire person's day. And so actors are acutely aware of that. And at least the Star Wars guys are. Like, if they are feeling a little tired in the green room, we had Diet Coke. We had a Red Bull, no sugar. I brought out plenty of Red Bulls for people, because also, by the way, they're all seeing their friends again. They're out partying too. So we were joking that we were all at that podcast meetup thing, and then the next day everyone was moving just like 20% slower, and actors included, and it was a great time. But no one was upset by that. You just keep moving.
Mark, in addition to Celebration, we always see each other at New York Comic-Con, and I believe the last time I saw you at New York Comic-Con, across the way from the Topps booth was Ruby's. I remember going there and getting my daughter a Princess Leia blaster and a costume and all that. And this is your new home. This is where you're working now. Can you tell us about what you're doing now, and what, for those who, the name's been around for a very long time, but for those who don't know, what is Ruby's, and what are some exciting things that are happening with Ruby's now?
Yeah, Ruby's has been around for 60-something years, but a lot of people don't know the brand name, because when you go to buy a Halloween costume, you're probably searching by license. It's like, I want a Star Wars costume, I want a Marvel costume, I want a Batman costume. And by the way, we have all those licenses. So Marvel, Star Wars, DC, WB. I actually am the brand manager of Star Wars and Viacom, which Viacom is Viacom Paramount CBS, which includes like MTV, VH1, and all these other subsidiary channels. So my big slice of that portfolio is SpongeBob, and Blue's Clues, a lot of toddler costumes, which my niece, who's 4 years old, loves. I got her a Blue's Clue, which she was really a big fan of, and she loves Paw Patrol. God help us. Paw Patrol is one of our biggest brands. Those three dogs saving the world. Over and over again. It's by the way, the show's delightful. If you have a minute and you have kids, like, treat yourself to some Paw Patrol. So that's what so I run the brand side of things. So connected to product development, much like I was at Topps, dealing with submissions and product creation start to finish. So we're working on quite a few new items, and we have a lot of new stuff that launched for Star Wars this year. Some really interesting things too. So not just like, there's more Mandalorian coming. There's like iterations of the Mandalorian and the child, Baby Yoda. And then we've got new costumes that are called oh my God, blanking at the moment. They're adaptable, which are wheelchair friendly. So we have those for Darth Vader and for, I want to say an X-Wing fighter. We also have it for like Batman and some of the other major characters from like WB and DC. So those are fantastic. We also have guinea pig costumes because that was all the rage to get pets. And that segment is booming. We already have dog costumes and cat costumes, but the guinea pig costumes, we're doing a Stormtrooper and a Darth Vader that look amazing. So there's a lot of new stuff coming for Rubies. In fact, if you go to rubies.com, you can see like the whole lineup of all of our costumes. You'll be overwhelmed, by the way. We have every license you can imagine, and then a whole bunch of what we would call generic. So if you want to be a doctor or a nurse or a pirate or whatever that career is, we've got all that plus accessories. And then we also have these amazing new masks that Palpatine's way behind me. Let me grab him. Okay.
Scooby, while Mark's getting that, we're gonna get to all, we're not done with the questions, so keep putting those questions in for Mark. Scooby, I know you're very interested in these costumes because you're girls, but we'll get to all your questions.
Oh, the reflection is terrible. I'll take this out of the box, but I wanted to keep it in the box for a second because this is new. This is one of the benefits of being part of NECA. So NECA, National Entertainment Collectible Association, owned by Joel, who is our parent company, right? We're now part of Kid Robot, Loot Crate, NECA proper. It is a great collection of companies to be a part of. We did this new mask, this set of masks for Walmart. This is a vinyl mask that you can actually wear. It's wearable, but it's also more of a collectible. And so this is newly sculpted, and it's got heavy clay in it, so it makes for a good display piece. And we're doing a whole lineup of them. They're starting in Walmart, and then we'll also have them on our website as well on costumes.com. So we started with Palpatine. Nope, there we go. Palpatine, Darth Maul, Bosk, the Tusken Raider, Kuiil, which looks really cool from Mando, and that's an oversized one. Chewbacca, and then there are more coming. We're doing like a Ponda Baba and a Greedo, and there's a few others that are all hitting before the end of the year, and they'll start in Walmart and then make their way into onto our direct-to-consumer website as well. So that's like the retail side of things right now, and we're rolling out this idea of like the collectible latex mask in this like big giant box over here across some of our other properties as well. So I think we'll get into some DC characters next year. We have to see. I just saw a comment saying they saw it in Walmart. That's great. Yeah, it's part of the September feature shop in the NECA section. So if you go to like their wall, this was like sort of created at Ruby's, distributed through NECA, and they've got their section in the back with all their collectibles. That's the nice thing about the parent company combo.
Nice. All right. So I didn't realize Ruby's had been around for that long. That's a man.
Mhm.
And have they had, how long have they been doing Star Wars?
It's probably 20, 25 years at this point.
Okay.
I want to say it was in the 90s. And they've got a global footprint and licenses all across the globe, and it varies by territory sometimes too. But yeah, our portfolio is living large, and with the expansion with NECA and Loot Crate and Kid Robot, as we take on licenses, you can start seeing them move across like the various pieces, which is how things like this mask comes into being. So sort of made at Ruby's, distributed in the NECA space, with help, by the way, from the sculptors and painters at NECA. So that's the kind of things, like we're pulling expertise from all over the company, which is a nice segue actually into the De Novo thing. We're taking like expertise from various places to make this subsidiary happen.
Let's talk about because it wouldn't be you, Mark, from what I know of you. You get high into a position and then it becomes much bigger than what you originally were doing. So what is this new merger, and what will people have to look forward to with it?
Yeah, this is really exciting for me. I joke that I went from leading a direct-to-consumer website with high-end Star Wars collectibles to leading a direct-to-consumer website with high-end Star Wars collectibles. It was very seamless. But when I took the job, I knew I was getting into the retail side of costuming, which is a very different beast, but it's still consumer product on the shelf, working with Disney, like in my wheelhouse. And then the high-end cosplay side, which I love as just a fan, but I'm not an apparel guy, right? But Ruby's is a costume company. NECA is a collectibles company. And with the creation of De Novo and taking on the license for high-end costumes and collectibles from Disney, we now have the ability to sort of play in that space and and really pick up where a Novo's left off. That's really the big thing that the big message to land is that we're taking over where a Novo's used to be. So if you guys are familiar with the Novos, they had helmets that were fiberglass, helmets that were ABS plastic, high-end costumes, very close to screen accurate prop replica, that type of idea. We are filling all of the back orders that they left behind. And then with that, we'll continue building out our product range off of that. So helmets up on the site right now include the Imperial Royal Guard and the Mandalorian and Short Trooper, Flame Trooper. We've got hats. We've got Imperial Officer hats, which are great, easy cosplay, and then a whole bunch of new stuff on the way, or not new stuff, but stuff from the back order that are coming before the end of the year. So it is and it's an exciting time because new stuff is going to be coming every few weeks.
It is very exciting. Even if I'm not I've never gotten into the costumes, but I love it. And I love the potential for autograph collecting when it comes to getting it on the prop or using the prop with the autographs, because obviously that's kind of my thing. But I know we have like Mark, who's in the group, who's very big into the 501st. He just does amazing things in that area. And Jeff, I believe, does as well. It's how big it is. Before I ask you a little bit more about what you're doing with the Novos, because I know we should talk a little bit more about that. So say I'm new, say I do want to get into 501st. And can I buy one of these new, do we know, and maybe it's something that somebody in the group knows, can I buy that? And is it approved by the 501st? Is it something that you can use to, that's, they have that approval process? Mark, maybe Mark, I'm sorry, Mark with a C. Yeah. We have Mark with a K, MVO. So is that, do we know, would I be able to get approved? Really? That's amazing. So Mark is saying, these products are acceptable by the costuming groups, or at least the 501st Rebel Legion as well. Do you know, Mark, or just 501st?
You're on mute.
Yeah. I think Spencer has to unmute you.
Let me unmute him. Give me 1 second. I asked to unmute him.
There we go.
Anvos was 501st approvable when they were out. So if they have the license and they're making the same type of costumes, yes, they will be approvable through the 501st. Rebel Legion is not half as strict as the 501st. The 501st is definitely the harder of the two to get into. Okay. So yeah, if they're doing the Jedi robes and stuff like that, because the stuff they sell at Galaxy's Edge is Rebel Legion approvable, even for the Rebel Legion.
So my thought on this, and I'm so glad you're on the call, because one of the things I want to do going into 2022 is pick up some of those breadcrumbs that Novos had left behind, like the approvable piece for 501st. I'd love to be able to say on the website that the new Novo is 501st approved. Obviously, we would need to get samples of all those items over to someone at 501st and have them approved and see where we got the references from and all of that. That's a process. Right now, we are just so laser focused on getting out as many pieces from the back order as possible that we haven't even started down those types of streams yet. Even new product development has been put on the back burner because of that. It's really just what can we get out as fast as possible to customers who have been waiting sometimes years. But I'm so glad you're here to talk about this, because I want customers to know, and I haven't said this in any other interviews, that we will be reaching out to people at the 501st. They're on our press list, but aside from that, like, I do want to get our pieces approvable by all the different building groups. So that's something really more for 2022, but needs to probably happen before Celebration. And I'm aware of that ticking timeline, by the way. We're trying to get so much out before May of 2022. So you'll have some options of things to wear or things to collect or things to get autographed. So we're acutely aware of all those deadlines, but we will be looking into the 501st approval as well.
A lot of it, you can actually go on the 501st.com. All of the CRLs are there, the costume logs, and it tells you step by step exactly what the pieces need to look like, what is and what is not acceptable. And it's open to, those are for the public to look at. So you guys, your team can actually look at those to get a general idea
Okay, great.
what's approvable. But there are plenty in the depending on what region you're in. You can reach out to the local 501st. Their costume approver would probably be more than happy to help you out with anything you need. Ruby's has a great reputation. They have been around for many, many years. I personally have dealt with Ruby's in my career for 25 years, in my present career and in my previous career.
Oh, terrific.
So yeah, so
you
they
good.
have a
That's good
good
to
reputation.
You two should talk. Absolutely.
Yes, we're going to offline for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'm
yeah,
actually
absolutely.
I work for Party City, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
know your company really well.
Yes, I was going to say a little bit same.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is the Halloween industry is very small and very tight, and everyone does kind of know everyone. And now this is a pretty different space with like the high-end cosplay side, but it's still the same, I think, large consumer set of like people who want to be able to dress up and do it well, right?
There's a huge
yeah.
market for it. A
Yeah.
huge market, because we get questions all the time. People
Okay.
looking for higher end stuff, to go to costume parties and enter contests and do cosplay for conventions. I'm located in Orlando, so we have a huge convention center.
Oh, I've been to it.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has.
Yep.
We'll forget that celebration, but
I choose
yeah,
to
no,
remember the great things and lessons learned.
Yeah, there's a huge market for it, and your company has definitely positioned themselves to be one of the leaders in it.
Yeah, it's an exciting time because it's a new license for us, but we are picking up like the molds, the manufacturing processes, the actual manufacturers who were making the Anovos items. Because if you ordered something from Anovos, we want to give you the thing you bought. Like, stop full sentence, right? Like, you ordered this Imperial Royal Guard helmet. It looks like this. It's shaped like that. It's painted like that. It's made of this material. We're sending you the exact same item, just the sew-in label says Denuo Novo instead of Anovos. And it's being manufactured with the same manufacturer that was intended to be the one that Anovos use. It's just now that NECA and Ruby's is paying for it. And
they'll actually get the merchandise.
That's the intention. And in fact, good news, everyone. Professor Farnsworth style, good news, everyone. When we went live on August 18th, we told everyone that we would start shipping on September 1st for all the different items. And we actually beat that date on the Imperial Royal Guard and the Flame Trooper. They all started going out like August 30th. Like, we beat it by mere hours. And then the Mando and the Shore Trooper and the 4 Imperial Officer hats all started shipping on September 1st. At this point now, there's more than 70 items that have been mailed to people, and many have arrived. So people should have started getting their items. And so if you can go into any of the collecting groups, I know there's a Reddit thread, but there are also Facebook groups and everything else about Anovos and now Denuo Novo. People should be getting their items and be commenting on them and telling us what they like or what needs improvement. So that's all happening like this week. We just had a Labor Day weekend. So of course it couldn't have been like a normal weekend where people would have gotten their stuff timely. I think a lot of people got their stuff today, but we're eager to see that feedback on the first 6 items, especially as we continue to roll out everything that's coming by the end of the year.
For those who we're saying Anovos, and we all know what it is, but for those listening, just quickly, why is this an issue that you're having to get all these items out that people don't have?
Yes, so Anovos was the licensee for like prop, replica, and high-end costumes, like screen accurate, very high-end helmets, weapons, props, costumes, etc. We are now the licensee in that space. And as part of taking on that license, we are fulfilling the back order that was left behind from Anovos. So there are customers who have items that they ordered from Anovos that were never delivered. And now we are taking that on. So my call to action for anyone who was an Anovos customer, you probably got an email from us, but it also could have gone to spam. And that has happened quite a lot. So please email us at customerservice@denuonovo.com. And I know that name sounds like Anovos. It is intentionally supposed to sound like Anovos. We are not hiding the fact that we are taking on what used to be the Anovos license, but we are a completely different company. We are NECA and Ruby's, but Denuo Novo is DENUONOVO. It actually sounds just like it's spelled, but it looks very confusing at first. Denuo Novo, and it means to rise again or come back again. So it's a little play on words. afterwards. But with that, we are working diligently on like 30 different items at the moment to try to get like another, probably have about 20 available by the end of the year. And then there are about 40 total items on the back order that need to get sent to people by the end of 2022. So we're working on all of that. It's all in the works right now, but it's coming along.
That's amazing. You know, especially when we have celebration coming up in next year, there's a lot to look forward to. Guys, while we're wrapping up with Novos and the costume stuff, you guys, this is your thing. Is there anything else you want to ask Mark about costumes or Novos, or what you have to look forward to?
Do you want me to show you some new stuff coming up?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, so let me show you what we have first. So this was the Imperial Royal Guard that this doesn't look great on my camera. That's the helmet that's out now. This is on the website. You can see the better picture there, but this is the flat you'll get with it. It's not focusing, but on the back, it's got a description of the product. So in your big box that you'll get the helmet, which I don't have. I couldn't lug that thing back to my apartment. And then it comes in this big satin bag that has the De Novo logo on one side, and then the Star Wars logo on the other. So it's in this bag. So we first plastic bag the helmet, and then it goes in this, and then that goes in a box, and that box goes in a box. And this is the box topper, which tells you all about the product, and it includes like the SKU and the UPC. And these particular helmets are made in the USA, which is why they're out first. There are plenty coming from China that are in various stages of development. But then we also have the Flame Trooper, which just started going out. The Shore Trooper, which looks really good from Rogue One. And then Mandalorian. I really like the way he turned out. It's so dark.
that's
I'm sorry,
gorgeous.
guys. We'll get you some like better pictures. They're all on the website, by the way. And then we have the two hats that are available. Oh, you won't even be able to see this one. The Rogue One, the junior officer black hat. It comes with the Imperial pin. And then the more senior officer, like classic olive gray as well. And we have those in various sizes. By the way, everything runs small. So if you think you're a medium, get a large on the hat. And then coming soon, we have some belts. I know that's really random, but we've got an Imperial officer belt. We're building our way to an Imperial officer full uniform eventually. But right now we got the hats. We're going to have the belt. We also have a Han Solo belt, which is, I got to say, this is very wearable. Like this borders on apparel, right? Like no one would know you're wearing a cosplay item except for the people in the know, which makes it that much cooler. So that's coming. And then we are building out the Imperial officer uniform. So in olive gray and in black. So whether you want to be classic or more junior level officer, those are all coming in early 2022. And at the same time we're doing that, we're making the Admiral's uniform. So if you want to be Krennic, or if you want to be Thrawn, black pants, white tunic instead of the gray or the black, the special hat. Oh, there you go. You got the badge right there. So we're working on, we're getting to have more badges. We'll have the hat that goes with it and the cape. And the cape attaches to the white tunic. And also the cape comes in sizes, which I didn't even realize, but I guess it's based on height, but small, medium, large, XL, double XL. The cape, by the way, the cape's unnecessarily long. So I would go small on that one. Otherwise you're dragging it across the floor. These are all the watch outs I'm learning. The next thing going live on the site, though, will likely be the Praetorian Guard helmet, which I can send you a photo of in development. It's coming soon. And then the belts. And then we're also working on an AT-ACT driver. And then there are some X-Wing helmets that are all in development that we hope to get out at the very, very end of the year or early 2022. And that includes Luke Skywalker, Red Leader, Blue Leader General Merrick, and Gold Leader Angus McGinnis. So that's the latest lineup for late 21 into early 22. And then I think from anyone who's a 501ster, the number one thing we've been getting questions about is the First Order Stormtrooper kit. There's more. Yeah, I'm seeing the clap emoji. It's coming. We're working hard on this one. Early 22 is our timeline at the moment. There are a million pieces to this, and we're chasing that one. We know there's a lot. It's also very complex because some people ordered a kit and then they had add-ons, and then there are various sizes. So the matrix of what like Frank will receive versus what Mark would get versus what Jeff would get or Spencer or me will be a completely different amalgamation of items. And so that alone in pack out is going to be a double, triple check, confirm address. Like it's gonna be a lot of steps And so early 22 is our timeline. And if I can hone that in tighter for you guys as we get closer, like once the stuff's on the water, we could get into a conversation about like when that could then deliver. So that's coming. Oh, and one other thing before I forget, the Force Awakens Han Solo jacket is also in the works and coming along. So I would say that one by the end of the year.
Wow.
So a lot of stuff,
So-
a lot of stuff's coming. A lot has changed in the
There's
past
a
2
lot.
weeks. We really started making good
Oh, wow.
progress.
We got you at just the right time. Then of course we're gonna have to get you back as we get closer to the
Yeah.
celebration.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
without a doubt, because I can't even think about 22
Yeah.
at the moment.
I have to ask you about size. You mentioned, so do the sizes go up to 2X? Is that the largest size that you have for things?
I think in most cases they're 2X. We're also fully again, like laser focused on the back order, and it looked like everything they pre-sold up to is 2X. I also think once you hit 3X, it's a different pattern. That might be why that's the cutoff. I will say everything runs small though. I've noticed that as we were trying things on, like I'm a medium, and there were definitely the medium was tight in some cases, and I was like, and I've got small shoulders. So my thought is, if you do have an outstanding back order, we will let you adjust your size. We're ordering more than the back order, and more a variety of sizes, so we can have extras to sell as well. And if you do need to go up on your size or whatever, that's not a problem. I'd actually lean into that first, because we are going to reach out to you and confirm the size you ordered and your delivery address. Because guess what? A lot of people moved between the years 2016 and today.
Right.
So we will confirm your address before we ship your product, as well as your size and everything else with it.
That is fantastic. I'm excited. I don't do costumes, and I'm excited to even hear this. Now I want to go buy something. I want something to be able to prep for celebration.
There'll be something on the site you want, because at some point, like when we start getting into the small scale pieces, like the hats are like super cute. Where did I put the damn hat? Oh, here we go. So I actually had the actual hat, not just the
Oh, nice.
the flat. And then I actually really like the black one. Like, I don't care if this is the most junior level officer. I just think this is really sleek looking. It doesn't have the pin in it, because of course, like nothing in the office is like fully formed. Everything's at the pack out facility. And then I also have the actual belt. There's the belt. So the belt, again, like super wearable. Like this is something that you could see gifting someone, and well, I guess on this one you might need to know the waist size, but that's an easy one, and it's not $700 as a Christmas gift for someone. That's a lot, but maybe you like them a little and you want to get them a belt. So, there you go.
I love it. All right. Well, we've had you for a very long time, but I know if you have time, I know we have at least one more question. Can
Yeah.
we get
Yeah,
that
let's
in?
go.
We actually two questions for you. One is coming from actually one of our members, affectionately known as Scooby. So there you go. He would like to, yeah, exactly. If there was anything that you learned that you would pass on to the next group that's going to run Autograph Hall, what would it be?
Yeah. You have to be, and I think this is good career advice in general, you have to be open to feedback. And I think that is true in all areas of life, but especially at work. Like I know where my expertise lives, and I also know where it ends. And I know when I need to go to other people to get the right information and who to make the thing happen. Like I could have a great idea, but it doesn't mean I can execute it. Or I could think I have a great idea, but it turns out that's not what the fans want. Again, you're all invited to my animation only convention, where there will be no attendees. But like that's the kind of thing where it's like, you have to be willing to put yourself out there and ask the hard questions. I will tell you, I did a couple of, I would say, contentious interviews in the beginning where I was like, hey, I want to find out what went wrong in Celebration 2017. And it was aggressive, and like borderline disrespectful, but also I was representing the company that people thought did a poor job. So you have to take that feedback and then figure out from there. So one, you have to be willing to accept the feedback and not fight that. It's like, was that true? Yes. Was it my fault? Maybe not, but it is my responsibility to fix it. And then you have to put a plan in place to make those changes and vet them with someone who knows better than you. Because I'll tell you, there are still some things for 2019 that I wish we could have done. We need table sales. You have to be able to sell autographs at the table. The fact that you had to go through customer service and leave the line prevented a lot of people from making extra money. And I hated that. And it was the kind of thing where I like screamed about it the entire time we were planning, and there was just no way to execute that. So that was my number one build going into 20 was table sales. So if I had one granular piece, I would say execute that. But at a very high level, get the feedback, execute the feedback, vet it with qualified people, be willing to take the feedback from everyone around you, and ask the major fan sites what they want, including like who they want talent wise. You know, Disney has a lot of say over who can and can't come, but the fans will determine who they want and then be willing to pay the money. Also realize that it costs way more money than you think. It's crazy expensive to do these things. I don't understand how any conventions are in business. The margins are like razor thin. So good luck to whoever it is next. I will be there supportive. And I will have no criticism, and I will buy autographs, and I will shut my mouth and drink a soda, and I'm sure we'll attend as a licensee as well. But I will be there probably physically, and I will definitely buy some autographs. Like I plan on enjoying Celebration, even if I'm working at the De Novo booth all day. It's gonna be a good time.
So myself personally, I know in 2019 I got 27 autographs. So really great job on the Chicago lineup. So thank you.
Can I ask you a question? How many did you get in 2017?
0.
Yeah.
I got 3.
What was that?
I got 3 photos. My first celebration, first and foremost, was 2017. So
Okay.
I didn't know what I was getting into. So I got 3 photo ops. I was like, okay, this is what I want. But I found that I had more time that I knew what to do with when I was in Orlando. So I was like, okay, I'm going to maximize my time in Chicago, being a little more of a veteran at that point, figure out what I was going to do. We interviewed Emily Swallow during chapter 8 of Mandalorian. She actually came to a live watch along of the chapter with us, and unfortunately, we actually broke to her that Celebration got postponed. She had no idea at that particular time, so we were kind of like, but can you tell us what the autograph hole might have looked like if 2020 went ahead?
Well, I mean, she was invited for sure. You might have noticed her in a Topps trading card product, The Mandalorian season 1. I'm sure that that was not the only thing she was planning on doing. And here's the thing, like, we try to focus in on what the current content stream is and really lean in on new and top tier. So it's like top tier, new, and whatever the content stream priority for Disney is. And usually there's a lot of overlap there. So those are not segregated circles. That's a Venn diagram of sorts. And Emily hit on all 3 of those, right? Like sort of lead in the show. There's probably 10 leads for The Mandalorian. She's one of them. New content and priority content for Disney, and would have been a new attendee, first time attendee. We had a lot of first timers in 2019, by the way. My list was like 52% new and 48% existing, or some such nonsense, right? It was like basically half and half. That was my plan for 2020 as well, knowing that we had so much more content that had just come, as well as like the top tier people who we wanted to bring back. My other big thing, and I was alluding to this earlier about the LA like drive up for the day, was how many people could I physically squeeze in a one-day LA half-day share a table situation where you could just get people popping in and out, like super low tier, unexpected, inexpensive, like bombard with quantity of small scale signers because they're in LA. They wouldn't cost us anything really. We just have to get them there. We have to print some photos. They'll sell some photos. We'll put them in some card product in the back for private signing. There were a lot of those. And I don't want to start giving away names, but like a lot of LA based people we were having that exact conversation with. And we were leaning in on The Mandalorian. That was really like the 2. Oh, and it was the 40th anniversary of Empire. So of course, like if you were a bounty hunter and you were alive at the time, and there were several, there are fewer now, sadly, you were invited. Like we were looking at that. So that is also, we have to prioritize original trilogy merely because of the ticking clock as well. It's very sad to say out loud, but Peter Mayhew was there 2-3 weeks before he died.
Yes.
And that was horrible. And I still think about that. And in some ways it was like a great blessing. He got to see everyone of his friends, and everyone did say that he was like thrilled to be there and loved seeing everyone and the fans and everything. And then there was also moments where I was like, oh, we brought him when he was very sick, but I know he wanted to see everyone and he was so happy to be there, you guys. Like, I think that just like was a great bookend to his appearances across the fandom, you know? But they probably do need to create space for original trilogy actors to be there at the next show, even if it's in a limited capacity. Like find a way to get us people who might be retiring from the live convention circuit, or even bill it as like the last live convention that we're going to go to, and then after that it's just private signings. I think that would be a really classy way of doing it without exploiting it, right? I think.
Yeah.
Someone else might disagree.
With a lot of the original trilogy actors being in the UK, does that distance factor into your ability to bring them over? Did
Yeah.
it factor into your ability to bring them over?
It's actually really hard because it's way more expensive, and of course like flying international is automatically more expensive, but then it's like international first class or whatever else, and then you have to stay longer, and just in general it's always more expensive, right? That's why like the LA thing was actually really helpful. I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about background creatures who worked at Pinewood. I can get voice actors who live in LA. Like that was the switch, right? We had you can imagine that bucket from going from who are our affordable sort of weird characters that we all love, and everyone's got that one story about the character they love, turning into the bucket of voice actors who maybe just did a couple of episodes, and maybe you'll actually see them more frequently at other conventions around the country, but they're going to pop in because they did an episode or two, and it's like they live in the zip code. Like that would be pretty cool. And if you build a collection around that, like you can imagine, like I made it a point to have photos that were group shots or like sort of almost mini posters. So I got like all 7 of the Resistance people to sign my little Resistance picture. You can imagine people doing that with Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else. I'm agreeing with the comment that we love the voice actors. I'm telling you, coming to my show, it's gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna make it happen.
And one of the last questions we have is, do you have any great stories of Carrie in 2015?
Oh boy. I mean, she's a force to be reckoned with, right? Like she's the greatest. And that hit me really hard. It happened at work, and being like the Star Wars guy, I had to close my office door and like breathe heavy. I have a better story that's not Star Wars. We met her, my husband and I, at her one-woman show, Wishful Drinking on Broadway, because I'm a New Yorker and we're gay. So of course we're at the Carrie Fisher Broadway show with every other homosexual in the city. And it was just the greatest thing that ever happened. It was hilarious. She goes on and on about her struggles with mental illness. She goes on and on about her hilarious and horrifying drug use that she considers them both, right? She talks about like they give you awards when you have mental illness as long as you just get out of bed. She was like, I'm gonna keep getting them. Like she had such a great way of like framing up the struggle and making it accessible for everyone. She even did a Q&A session in the like not even the middle of the show. It was like 20 minutes in. I was like, oh, it's too early to have like audience interaction. But her show was amazing. And then afterwards, it was around Christmas. We saw her in like December 22nd or 23rd. We brought a Princess Leia action figure, which maybe was like, we're going to get her to sign the playbill. But, we were like, oh, Ms. Fisher, we love you. Of course we do. We're gay, or we worship you, etc. We're big Star Wars nerds. This was before I was even working at Topps. This was like 2013, 2012. I have to look at the date. And brought the Princess Leia action figure. And she was like, I'll sign it, but I'm going to write on there, like, please don't sell me on eBay. I was like, that's perfect. Like, if you could personalize it, it's for our collection. And so we have on our action figure I think she's signed to Jason, my husband. Please do not sell me on eBay. Love, Carrie Fisher. And we haven't. It's still hanging up in the house, and it always will. She was that lady. She was like the heart of that original trilogy group, and it still kills me that like we didn't get the proper episode 9 with her, that she didn't get like her full-on movie. And in some ways it's almost like her like flipping the finger to everyone, everyone who not the fans, but to everyone else who was like, I've been doing this for so damn long, like you're not gonna put my name at the top of the poster and bill me first. And that, I mean, they did, but she was not having it. And now we get to live on the legacy though through Billie Lourd. I think Billie Lourd is the perfect successor to Carrie Fisher in every way. And watch her on American Horror Story and everything else she's doing in her real life. She's spectacular. So I miss her tremendously. And more than anyone, that was the one that got me. Like all of them have been sad, but that one like literally crushed me. And so I still think about her, because go watch the 30 Rock episode when she has her run-in with Liz Lemon with the day drinking wine all day, like the Rosemary's Baby episode.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Everything she does is great. Yeah, I can't say enough good things.
Mark, thank you so much for your time tonight. For me, it's great to see you, but it's always great for me when other people can hear what you've done and see what you're going to be doing, because you've always been so open. We say often we've never had someone with your time with Tops and now with Ruby's and what you're doing with the new company. You're so open, so welcoming to the fan groups, the different websites, and that relationship that you forged, that you've started. It means so much to us. This transparency, this connection that you value your customers, which is the fan base, and you mean a lot to us. And we want to make sure you know that, and we look forward to, everything that you bring to our fandom. And we hope to see you at Celebration, and we'll definitely be talking to you here before Celebration.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I feel the same way about you guys. I love the fandom. Even in my furlough Scooby-Doo watching dark days where I was trying to stay clear of Star Wars, it is, like I said, a magnetic pull. It is gravity. It pulls you back in. Oh, I'm waving. Hi. It's great. Like, I love you guys. I really do. I mean it. I would not trust me when I say my boss was like, why are you going to spend 2 hours on a podcast to like plug our product for 10 seconds? And she didn't really say it that way. She was like, oh, who are these people? Like, tell me more. And I was like, they're all great. Like, it's the kind of thing where I'm thrilled to be included, happy to be here. The plugging of the product is not as important as being able to like just talk to you guys and share stories. And that's what I really enjoy. And I want to do more of that. And now that I'm like in it again, and I can actually speak publicly about what I'm doing. Remember, it was like super top secret for a long time. It's great to sort of be back in it. And so find me on Twitter, and we can all chat.
Are we still Darth Von Ohlen?
Yes, still Darth Von Ohlen.
Okay.
I had a separate personal Twitter for a while, and that got dull because I started following like other things, and I was like, this is just news and politics. I need to scroll back over to where I was. And then I'm back in. I'm still screaming about news and politics, but also Star Wars. And then I'm Darth Von Ohlen on Instagram as well. But really, if you actually want to get in touch about Denuo Novo, again, anyone who has a back order from a Novos, or if you just have questions or whatever, email customerservice@denuonovo.com. We'll do our best to get back to you very quickly. As you can imagine, we've got hundreds and hundreds of emails that we are pouring through, trying to get product out. And please, dear Lord, include your full name, your order number, what you ordered, and confirm your shipping address. If you all did that in one email, we could get you done in one email. It has been 8 or 9 emails back and forth sometimes with people to ship out a helmet. It should be faster. So we're trying to make that happen.
I just want to spend a second just echoing what Frank said. Mark, thank you for everything you've done for us in the past. Thank you for everything that you're going to do for us in the future. I know some of the products that are coming out, and I'm really excited about them. Can't wait to see them in person. And on that note, I hope we all get to meet you in Celebration. And having gone through a rough time, with the pandemic, just to see you in person would be just an absolute delight. So thanks again,
Same.
Mark, from the bottom of our hearts. You've been wonderful.
Thank you. And I really appreciate it. Same. I hope I get to hug you guys in person as long as we're all legally permitted to hug. That is my dream. I'm just gonna walk around that actually literally says like free to hug at Celebration in 22. So
Will you be at New York Comic Con?
No, we are not doing New York Comic Con. It just doesn't make sense for us. And honestly, like I wouldn't go to con right now. I did the small scale thing I was telling you about earlier with Monster Mania.
Yeah.
That was small. This is New York Comic Con is too big, and also pulls from all over the world. Like it's kind of too much. I was like, we can take a year off. Let's do that one virtual. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. San Diego is virtual, and they're doing that live thing in November, I guess. But we'll make do, and we'll get. I want to be good for Anaheim. That's my real plan. I'm ready for 2022.
That's what we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Mark Von Ohlen from Ruby's. Thank you so much for being with us, Mark. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. See you guys soon.
All right. Good night.